so fantastic. This is so fun, you guys.
You're already radiating, and I feel like you're doing an introduction before I even have to say anything. I love it. I love the smiles. It's contagious. So let me jump right in. I want the audience to know a little bit of a summary of who you are, and then you get to take the floor. So Lisa McCoskey, CECP, is a wellness facilitator and a toxin-free lifestyle coach at a Living Well Life in Fairborn, Ohio. She is passionate about helping all of her clients regain and restore wellness through environmental education, personalized nutrition protocols, and kitchen remedies. She partnered with Crunchy as a clean beauty advocate in March of 2017 and has integrated this essential element of health into her clients' daily care routines, creating balance and outside-in confidence. As an elite leader, her greatest joy is helping her team of 1,500 dedicated advocates manifest their dreams and celebrate with them as they create the freedom to live, love, and play in world-class ways. Lisa is married to the man of her dreams, Dr. Terry McCoskey, and together they have nurtured their 3 beautiful daughters to adulthood and served their community in health, and authored the Living Well Code, 10 guiding principles to optimize your days and vitalize your life, which is an Amazon #1 international bestseller. She finds joy in sharing time with her family and friends, and her white dove Oliver, who we just heard about, and exploring God's creation near and far. You can follow Lisa on all social media platforms, and we will let her tell us all about that and how to find her a little bit later in the show. And with that, Lisa, you have the floor. So if you could tell us about who you are in a little bit more detail, how did you get started? Where did you get started? And what would you like to pinpoint and highlight for our audience?
Oh, thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you, Dee Dee. I appreciate being here so much. I love being able to share with your community. You can tell that you're all so like-minded with a common goal of just doing better in life and sharing that with family and friends. I give all the credit to my mother. In fact, I was kind of re-looking over our book, and I realized that I had made my dedication to her. And it's because she was so wellness oriented before that was a thing. Like, she was organic before organic was, mainstream. So that was like 35 years ago. And so she bought the apples that were ugly, but they were organic. And that was really important to her. And she taught us to read labels and understand that what the words were, like what MSG was and why we didn't want to have that in our foods that we ate, or synthetic dyes and what that does to hyperactivity in children and how it can really distort neurotoxins in the brain. And, she didn't use it in those words necessarily. She was just, if you want to do better, here's the way to do that. She didn't have to get into all the nitty gritty details of it. We wanted to do better. And not just to please her, because we saw the way of the world. We saw that there was more disease now than ever before. And people were confused about why they didn't feel good, and they were tired and fatigued and had skin concerns, or their thyroids were malfunctioning. And so, I look back and I'm like, Mom, she was like revolutionary. And what's super cool is she started a 1-woman organic lawn care business because she was so passionate about it. Let's see. Nope, she'll be 80 next year. She is still lifting and loading 50-pound bags of supplies for these organic lawns. She's amazing. She's a rock star, you guys. So I aspire to be just like her. And one of the things that I fell in love with, where she was all about the lawn and eliminating glyphosate, which we can talk about later, DDT, my My dad loved using DDT in the garden, and she was finally like, no more. If that gets in your bloodstream, that's in your body for 50 years. And so she just kind of put the smack down on those types of things. She's like, we don't need it. We can still have good, healthy foods, because they would garden, and, without the chemicals. So she loved that part of it, but I fell in love with learning about the roots and the barks and the leaves and the flowers and the stems. And that's part of the kitchen remedy that I'm so intrigued with, is we can use those things that are on our earth, our beautiful earth, to really help us be well. And so I fell in love with that. And so I would get every book that I could find. I would pour through it, because this was, like I said, this is not Kindle era. This is like books, manuals, library.
Mhm.
From a
I
long
miss
time
those
ago.
days.
Me too. Me too. I still have quite a library of books. But it was something that I poured into. My husband is a chiropractor, like you mentioned, Stephanie. And while he was going through his doctorate program, this was something that I just fell in love with. Like, I immersed myself in it. While he was at school, I was an interior designer at the time. Um, but I could not wait to get home and go through the books and make notes and be like, okay, we're going to try this. It started with like tea tree oil, which is so commonplace now. But seriously, you guys, 30 years ago, it was, you
Yeah.
just didn't hear about it. You were just weird. And so anyways, that's sort of the start of it while he was in school. Um, and it gave me something to really focus on and fall in love with. Then we had our first daughter while he was at school. And when I got pregnant, the idea of toxins in our world was just reprehensible to me. I couldn't stand the thought of everything that was around us getting into my bloodstream and then getting into her bloodstream. And so in utero, a lot of the toxins, it's a legacy that you don't want to pass on. It gets um, into their bloodstream and into their little bodies, and it doesn't ever leave. It's with them for life. So I became very, very aware of that. But I didn't pursue it the same way that I was pursuing the herbal remedies. And so, and that was fine. I knew that it would come full circle. So let me take you forward a little bit more. We had another baby, Lily, our middle daughter, Lily, and that was while he was at school. We graduated from Palmer and headed to Ohio, where he joined another chiropractor in practice. And then we had a third baby. So those are the three daughters that we had. And through that time, I continued to learn and grow and, just feed my soul, which was those kitchen remedies. We started homeschooling them. We home birthed them. I should say we were very homebodies, right? We homeschooled them, home birthed them, home churched them. And I had told Dee Dee in our initial conversation, one of the things that is so fulfilling to us right now is we have Sunday family dinner every week. Our daughters wanted to stay close to us. They, I mean, I won't cry, but it's really one of the things that, we didn't know it at the time, but we were building relationships with them that would last a lifetime. I could have gone to work, and some women love to go outside the home to work, but this was our calling. And I'm so very, very thankful to have done it the way we were guided to do it. Because having them in our lives now as best friends and watching our grandsons grow up and being part of even our son-in-law's lives, I love them. They're my sons. So that was just really, it was very powerful at the time, and I didn't know how important it would be until now. So anybody that's considering homeschooling or home birthing or home churching, just know that the work at the time is worth the end result. It really, truly is, because you can't go back and change it. And so it's definitely worth it. So we learned a lot along the way. So we're home birthing. So you learn all about those herbs and the things that you take for, as a pregnant mama, but then also a birthing mama and a postpartum mama. Then you're learning about how to nourish and nurture your babies. And then here's the tricky part. You also have to take care of them externally, right? You're feeding them all the good stuff, you're breastfeeding, or, if having to supplement or whatever that is. But you get a basket full of Johnson and Johnson products,
Mhm.
and they smell so good. They smell just like babies. And you don't know better at the time. We didn't know better at the time, um, because you think that if they're on the shelf and you can buy them, then they're okay and they are safe. And that's a lie. They are not. And I think the world is kind of revealing that this is very timely, because Johnson and Johnson is the one that got in big trouble for their sunscreen recently. And but that's not new, you guys. The sunscreen has been out for decades, and it's the same toxins that were in there then that are in there now. They're killing the reef systems, but more importantly, they're killing us.
Right.
um, the signs of toxicity are stress, they're endocrine disruption, they are imbalance in all the different glandular systems, and death. Because when we are toxic, our bodies cannot be as well as they can be. And so we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to be avid label readers and be able to turn over that bottle that says pure and natural, 100% clean, organic, and say, oh, but what about this paraben? And what about this synthetic preservative? you
Mhm.
know and so we have to learn. And so that's I've just become so passionate about that, because we've been so deceived for so long, and it makes me mad, that righteous anger, that it's like, no, I need to help women to know that there's a better way, not just for themselves, but for their babies and their families and the legacy to come for them, their babies. So that's sort of how it turned into that. So we homeschooled our girls from, we say, till from birth till graduation, because as soon as a baby's born, you are teaching them.
Yeah.
um, but once they graduated, about, oh, let's see, when the first one, Caitlin is our oldest, and people started asking me, it's like, so what are you going to do? What are you going to do after they're all grown and gone from the house? And I'm like, well, I really don't know. It's not time for me to know that yet.
Right.
And so, but it kept, the seeds were being planted, just by them asking the question. It was stirring up things in my own mind. It's like, where is God going to lead me next? What is going to be the next step for Lisa McCoskey, who's not going to be Lisa McCoskey, mother of Caitlin, Lily, and Grace, homeschooling mama, wife of the chiropractor in town, that kind of thing, stepping into my own self.
Mhm.
Um, so about the time that our youngest Gracie graduated, it was really put on my heart that all this knowledge that I'd been gaining, just learning on my own, needed to be shared. And so my husband and I talked about it. And in his practice, he does something called upper cervical. It's NUCA. That's the technique that it is. It's very specialized. Only about 1% of the chiropractors in the United States use that technique. And that's all he did in the practice. He adjusted the atlas and people would get well. It was amazing. There were miracles every day. Um, and and at the time that was perfect, and then I'm like, so what do you think about maybe introducing some nutrition to the patients? How does that sound? I was tippy toeing, right? Because in my heart, I really felt like it would be such a benefit for those patients to take their wellness to the next level. But I needed to be respectful of what he'd built in those 20 years prior to me, deciding that this is what I wanted to do now. But he invited me in, and that was about 12 years ago, 13 or 14 years ago now, maybe. I did all the certifications. I learned all the things so that I could really apply what I'd learned organically myself, to create personalized protocols for the patients that came in. I really wanted it to be a superior experience to anything that they imagined in their mind or anything that they'd seen anywhere else. So I had created a lot of documents. I found that asking questions was the most valuable way of learning about where they were. So we have intake forms that you cannot believe. I think one of them is like 5 pages long. Um, and but it helps so much because, down to what kind of pipes do you have in your home? Because if they're lead pipes in their home, that's another level of toxicity that we need to address and, eradicate from their bodies. So, we did that, and that was great, and it's really been so wonderful to help him with that, um, and help the patients too. It's such a blessing to be able to walk hand in hand with. I work mostly with women, probably I would say 95% of them, and to be able to have those hour-long conversations. Sometimes it's not about what I say, it's about what she says, and just that need of being able to talk in a safe space, um, that can bring wellness to another level too. And I
Yeah.
saw that all the time. Women don't feel heard enough,
Mm.
and I was a place where they were heard. I wanted to know everything about them. Um, and so, all the protocols, that was super fun because, that was going back to all the stuff that I was learning and immersing myself in, and, using valerian root to help them sleep, and explaining, that's where Valium came from. It was from the valerian root, and they took the chemistry that was part of that valerian root, and they turned it into something that they could patent and market and sell, and, through the pharmaceutical industry. And but once you separate the parts of valerian root that work and add in your own stuff, you've manipulated it outside of what I consider safety for all. Um, and so going back to valerian root, it's like that's an easy shift for me, because you can, for the most part, you're going to get the effects, that nice soothing, stress reducer. You're going to sleep well. And it's that way with so many different herbs. I have white willow bark right here. It is something that I use for like headaches. That's what aspirin used to be made from. That's how Bayer patented it. It was from white willow bark. And so, so those are just things. But I love that. Some people are like, who cares? Who cares? But I care. And I think it's really important that we can utilize the things that are gifts here to make us well. Um, so, okay. So how far off track did I get with that?
Oh my goodness, you are
No.
100% on track.
Yeah.
And again, you're making our job super easy because we're going to ask you, what have you learned through your journey? And how is
Mhm.
that really related to what you do now and what really has inspired you to stay on the journey? So
Yeah.
you're really hitting all of the points that we would like you to address.
Yeah.
So love it. So tell us a little bit more about your book and what inspired that book and what is your intention of sharing that with the world.
The my husband had been wanting to write a book for about 7 years before we wrote it. So like maybe 15 years ago now. And it was one of those things where I just felt like we needed to get the message out. So we wrote it, we co-authored it. He kind of gave the nuts and bolts, and I just provided the softer side of it,
Mhm.
things that I had seen in my experiences as well. We felt like we actually, for every new patient that comes in, we that's a gift to them from us, so that they can understand our hearts, and have a glimpse into what else that living well can offer them. Um, it's written in 10 chapters, and so we have it all written out. And I do talk about endocrine disruptors and toxicities that we find in our environment, and how important that is to shift away from. I call it safe swapping, because for every toxic product, you can find a non-toxic one, a toxin-free one, that is going to work just as well without that negative body burden that creates so much um, distortion in the body's energy, because it has to spend so much time and resources to clean out that liver every time it's introduced. So what has kind of kept me motivated to, especially going into the clean makeup and clean skincare, is we would put patients. I love purification programs. We have a wonderful one that we use in the office that's 21 days. And we would, when we first were using it like 12 years ago, we would see, again, just miraculous results in those 21 days. And then as time went on and the world became more and more toxic, we weren't seeing the same results.
Mm.
And it perplexed me. It made me sad, because I know how much energy and effort the patients were putting into it. So I started, really thinking, and that's when we really focused on what people are using in them, on them, and around them, because it all matters. It's not just about the things that we're taking in, not just the foods that are going to help to balance us and feed us nutritionally, but it's the things that we need to avoid that can make the biggest difference. So, so we started to look at that, and we would get them started on their purification programs with the promise, I would say, that they would do their part, and we would give them a list of things that they needed to either avoid during the 21 days or safe swap out for something that wasn't toxic, even if it's just deodorant, and getting rid of the aluminum from their deodorants. That's a good one to safe swap. It's not super expensive. It's something that the lymph nodes underneath the armpit and that skin is so sensitive and delicate and absorbs so much, that it's a good one. You get good, massive benefits right away by just doing that. So even if it was just that, so that's when it led to, personal care items. So for me personally, we were doing all the right things. That's what I thought. That's what I told myself. We were drinking purified water, reverse osmosis water. We have an air purifier, so the air's clean. We were eating organic foods before organic foods were even, you could find maybe 3 things in the produce department. And I was, 54, and I started having massive hot flashes, mood swings, night sweats, all the menopausal symptoms that you can imagine. And I couldn't understand it. So for a year, I was dealing with these symptoms, and I'm not a candidate for bioidentical hormone replacement therapy or anything like that. My system is so sensitive, and it would have been worse than better. It was like, I just need to deal with these and just keep doing the best I can, take the supplements that I knew I needed to, purify when I needed to get rid of the excess hormones. But I was still having them. And then in March of 2017, my middle daughter, Lily, introduced me to the clean cosmetic company, Crunchy. And I read all about them. They were a new company, only a year old. And so I dove into that, and she was so excited because she had worked for a different cosmetic company that we knew wasn't a clean company. But this one, it hit all the marks, and their mission was so on board with everything that we were teaching through our chiropractic office and our nutrition practice. And so it fit, it hit all the buttons. And so I immediately just said to her, I said, I don't even want to try any of these products. Sign me up. I don't know where this is going to go from here, but I just feel it in my heart that this is a very, very, very important step and a very important decision. And so 2 weeks later, I get my products and I trash all of everything that I was using on my skin, all my skincare, all my makeup products, my shampoo, even. I just got rid of it all. And then 2 weeks after that, I did not have another hot flash. And I still haven't had another hot flash. No night sweats, no other menopausal symptoms. My husband can attest for the mood swings. And I mean, it really, it changed my life because I didn't realize how much of my brain was like monitoring those hot flashes and just dealing with them. You know how our bodies are so smart and they try so hard to keep that homeostasis, right? But
Yes.
it uses energy there too. So I was beside myself with joy, and I'm like, I can't wait to tell everybody that I know about this. And that's exactly what we started doing. So I started integrating clean beauty into my clients' protocols, and that's when we started seeing major changes. Because then when they saw some changes, then they're like, what else can I throw away and start over with, right? Um, so it was, I mean, that's kind of where it's gotten me. The biggest challenge for me right now is how can I be louder about it? How can more people benefit from something as simple as trading out their foundation, or their eye cream, or, their deodorant. It doesn't have to just be their makeup, because it really is in, on, and around you. So, people that use Febreze or their plugins and stuff like that, all of those phthalates that are getting in them are just completely wrecking their system. And like I said, that toxicity is equal to death because our bodies can only take so much. We need to learn how to reduce body burden. And part of that is just saying no to, what the FDA is allowing in the products. Some of the stats are that there's 80,000 chemicals that are available. And there's less than 30 of them that have been banned in the United States by the FDA. European Union, they've banned 1,300, so they're way ahead of us. But it just means that we need to advocate for ourselves. We need to advocate for our families. We need to help our friends see that we're not just making this stuff up, that it really is a big deal. And that if they want to truly walk a wellness lifestyle, that this is an important aspect of that.
Yeah.
Wow, I love it. And as much as I know you said this stat to me when we were talking, that stat you just shared, the 80,000 versus 30 versus 1,300.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I mean, I always knew that there's a disconnect to why all these things on the shelves and why all these labels in the ingredients list and things like that. And why are they even legal to begin with? And why are some of the naturopath I know recommend European items and not American made? And so, everything just connected for me in terms of that. And so what I really love is that you always knew that this is what you're really meant to do. I think it in different forms, right? But I think you always knew that you were called just to live this wellness and lifestyle like that from the very beginning. And I think, yes, you gave credit to your mom, but that's what you were born into. And I think this is what you're meant to do. And it's so incredible. And guess what? I am with you in being loud and clear about these kind of information. That's why this show, because I, just like you, believe that there's so much that most Americans don't know about, especially the food source and all of the products on the shelves and everything. And so I am with you on that. And be sure that they are going to hear from they get to hear from you, and that you'll get to hear from them. And that's what I love about what you're sharing is, as much as I feel like I'm very good with knowing what to eat and things like that, but I am just now embarking on the journey of really understanding there's other toxins in the environment too, and I need to handle that as well.
Exactly.
So great information so far. So I know you addressed cosmetics and a few things, like I love the example of swapping out your deodorant. That's simple. So Lisa, let's talk about I know that, like the whole environmental side of things, meaning like house products. So what are the, I know there's a better option than Windex. That's
vinegar.
I know there's for example, so share with us, what are some household items that we can get rid of right now?
Okay, so one of the very first ones, Were you going to say something, Stephanie? Go ahead.
Well, it's funny that I'm just going to piggyback on what Dee Dee said, or asked rather. I want to hear this. And I was going to ask if you have somewhere on social media or one of your sites, or if it's in your book. I mean, I don't know if you're allowed to do this, but products and names, brands that we should be switching to and considering.
Absolutely. And that is, I have a 10-page master list. We call it our Safe Swap Guide. And so, and I have it broken down for, if it's baby items, we have baby items in there, mattresses, because people don't even think about what they're sleeping on, spending 12 hours on toxicity. The thing that I would change the first within your household is your laundry detergent, and stop using dryer sheets. Those would be the two biggest things, because with both of those items, you're smelling them, because it's the fragrances that they put into the laundry detergent. Even when they're free and clear, they're not free and clear.
Of course not.
they were made free and clear, so they had to be they had to use something to make it clear.
Right.
That is like that is the logic for me. I'm like,
it's so funny, because I pride myself on, knowing how to get around, advertisements and the BS around, the labels that people can use about organic and GMO and whatever. And I have free and clear, detergent in my cabinet. So, I just decided, for whatever reason, on that particular product, I just threw in the towel and didn't want to bother. I don't know, but that's good to know, especially if you think it's at the top of my list. And I will also be getting rid of my bounce pads.
Yes. I mean, that is formaldehyde. That's part of that. So you're not only breathing that as it's coming through, when your dryer's going, but then you're wearing it and it's rubbing onto your skin, and it takes less than 60 seconds for toxins to penetrate your skin and get into the bloodstream. That's how nicotine patches work. That's how birth control patches work. It's the skin absorbs it into the bloodstream. So it all affects, it affects us. We don't think about it, but those are two major ones, because of the environmental part, and then also the personal part, where it's touching you all day long. The deodorant is a big one. The using vinegar instead of Windex. You can just use that straight or mix that with water, but there's other products too that are out there, and we've got some of those listed. When I think about it, I think about terms of, do you use it every day, and how much of your body is it touching? So for me, I was using skincare and makeup every day, and that is one of the reasons why I couldn't overcome those menopausal symptoms, is because I was applying it daily. Yes, it's just my face, but the skin around your eyes and your face, that skin is pretty delicate. Right. It's not like the bottoms of your feet or something like that, where it might take a little bit more. And so those are the two big ones, those for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, wow, I am so blown away. This is so incredible. And yes, that is so. Thank you so much for sharing that resource with
You're welcome.
us.
Yes, absolutely. And that's something that they can. Do you want me to say that now, Stephanie?
Yes. I was going to say, to wrap things up, Lisa, if you could give us, maybe one piece of advice, or let us know your vision, and then please let us know every single way that we can connect you and find you and get that list that you were talking about. I know that we talked about your book, but tell us again. So yeah, where can we find you? Where are you?
Okay.
Tell us your handles. Tell us your website. Any freebies you might have, share it all.
And I have two of them. The one is the Safe Swap Guide. We also call it our Living Well Master List. And to get that to your email, they can just text to 937-405-1087, and then just type in Clean Beauty, and that should automatically send that guide.
Okay.
Right to that. Actually, that's going to go right to their phone. It's a
Okay.
PDF that'll go right to their phone. The other thing is if they would like to, and this is probably something that we need to write in because I think the website is a little bit longer, but I have this really fun beauty quiz that they can take so that if they're ready to detox their makeup bag, that they can fill out this form. I can send some samples if they'd like some samples, and then also just get the exact color for them, the foundation shade, what's going to be the best skincare for them, depending on what their situation is, dry, oily, normal, T-zone. And then also colors that are going to be complementary to their eyes, cheeks, hair color, and all that. So that's fun. I love to do those. And that's something that, we'll just include that website. Is that okay? Okay.
Yep, that's perfect. That will be included in
And so that's one way. And then on Instagram, you can find me at livingwell_beauty, just like it is on the screen there. I have a resource group on Facebook. It's called A Living Well Life. And so you can join there, and I have, you can search the group, but I have all my kitchen remedies in there, and people can ask questions in there. And if they have concerns, I love to help people learn and start from where they're at and just kind of watch that progression as they grow and they start tossing more and more things and start feeling better and better. So that's really helpful. I love that group. I love that community so much because it's very open, but it's also very safe. They can ask questions and they know that they're going to get answers there. And also email. Email is a great way. It's lisa@livingwellbeauty.com too. And that's an excellent way to get in touch if they have any other questions.
Okay.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. You are the queen of, I would say, health and wellness. And
oh, really?
I say queen because you're also environmentally conscious, and you like a girly girl, you love cosmetics too. And so I love everything that you have shared so far. And I know that our audience is listening, and already I'm sure they're already made a list, because I know I did mentally.
I did.
Deodorant, no more certain kinds of laundry detergent,
No more bounce pads.
no bounce. So,
you guys,
wow.
it's called greenwashing. That's what the industry does to us. They greenwash us with those labels. So just say no more greenwashing for me.
No more greenwashing. Got it.
Well,
Lisa,
thank you.
This has been so awesome.
Thank you guys. This has been super fun. And thank you for making it fun. It really, sometimes I feel like the information can be sort of heavy. And in this day and age, we don't need heavy. We need a simple way to get the results that we're looking for. And so I hope that I can help at least one other person to make that journey a success for them and to live their best life.
Yes. Indeed, Lisa.
All right.